All right, I'm Bob Weeks with the Fix for Today. I'm here with Josh at CrossFit Eternal. And I was filming with these guys a couple weeks ago, going over movements, and me and Josh got talking about programming. So I asked Josh if he would, we could come and talk about programming, talk about specifically the way he programs, and so we could put that out there, get some feedback, see if we can get some people that are having problems with programming that we could be useful and helpful. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh and let him talk about programming. So let's go, Josh.
Sure. So like Bob said, I just want to kind of give you guys a little perspective on kind of the things that I've learned. If you want to learn some more, feel free to check out our website, crossfiteternal.com. All my programming is open source. Most of the guys that I've learned from and just picked up a lot of tips from, and a lot of good training philosophies, all their stuff is open source. So there's a ton of information that's out there. So this isn't anything that's kind of secretive, although once you kind of discover some of these things, it'll be almost like a mind-blowing, like, why wasn't I doing this the whole time?
Let me ask you something, though. You made a key word. He said he had learned from. So Josh has learned from others to how to program, right? So that's key. He didn't just come up with how he programmed. He's learned how to program. And that's one of the things we want to help people with, is giving information out that to make them a better programmer for their individual clients and as a whole as their box. So that's an awesome thing that I heard you say, is about you learn from other people. And
yeah,
that's killer.
And one of the things with CrossFit is it's so new. It's new as a training philosophy, as kind of a concept in exercise science. So the evolution of the programming is still coming along.
Right.
I wouldn't say there's any necessarily a system that's perfect.
Right.
That's out there, but everybody's kind of learning together. Everybody that wants to learn is learning together right now. So I think I'd heard a quote. It takes about 10,000 hours to master a craft. So I'm trying to get there as far as programming goes.
I love it.
So there's some basic programming things. At my level 1 cert that I did back in 2008, one of the things that they encourage is to stick to couplets and triplets, and some shorter, high intensity work, which I think is a very good idea. Typically, there's kind of two overarching kind of main components to CrossFit, and that's kind of the metabolic work and the strength work. And even if you kind of take most of everything that we do in CrossFit, you can group them into 3 different categories. So you have your typical, let's say metabolic work. So that's your running, rowing, and this is all just level 1 stuff. Right. I mean, this is all level 1 manual stuff. Weightlifting, so kettlebell swing, a deadlift, and then gymnastics, push up, pull up, and you can just keep these lists going. Right. So the idea from a selecting a movement standpoint is we want variety. We want a lot of variety in kind of our metabolic conditioning.
Right.
So that's how do I pick movements? What do I do for certain movements?
How do you do that?
So we have kind of that whole list of things, and again, we want variety in that. So it's I'll start with a workout on Monday. Typically I program at least 1 week at a time, so I'll do a Monday to Saturday of programming.
Okay.
And we'll just talk general box programming. I have individual athletes that I program for as well. And we'll touch on that in just a second, right. But usually when I'm programming, if I program a workout on Monday, I'll go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then when I'm looking at that Thursday, I kind of look back and it's well, what movements have I done?
Right.
So I'm not necessarily repeating them here and repeating them here.
Right.
But we're keeping, so it's not we're doing pull-ups, pull-ups.
Right.
So you can do that when you're programming, you just not even kind of realize that there's not a lot of variety there. So typically at the end of a 2-week cycle, I'll look back at kind of my movement list and see, have I just completely forgot something? Right. Is there something we need to kind of go back and touch on? Kind of that good stuff.
Okay.
So that's just kind of a movement selection series you can do for yourself, just to make sure you're getting plenty of variety there.
Right.
Now, when you want to think like programming for a box and programming for just an individual, they're different, but they're kind of the same. Like one drives the other.
Right.
So there's a prevailing philosophy out there that your number one athlete should dictate kind of your programming.
Okay.
So you take your best athlete in your box,
Okay.
and you have them set the pace for your programming, and everybody else kind of scales or devolumes off of that.
Okay.
I pretty much follow that philosophy. I'd say, I'd say I'd follow that. So,
Okay.
my top athletes, they're kind of dictating the pace at what we're going. So if you look at my website, you'll typically see many layers, kind of just layers of programming. So you'll see like an A, B, C, D. Typically there's like A, 1, 2, and 3, B, C, and then sometimes D, and even sometimes like an E.
Okay.
So this is a very large, it's kind of like an onion. There's just a lot of layers here. So most people, and especially your general kind of clientele, and your general athletes, their goals are pretty simple. I want to lose some weight, I want to get in shape, I want to get fit. That's the vast majority of people that come to CrossFit. It's like that's their goals.
Right.
We always talk to everybody about their goals when they start with us, so we have a general idea what we need a program for. But 99% of everybody have the same goals. I mean, we really do.
Right.
They might, somebody might have more of a weight loss goal than somebody else, and somebody might have like more of a strength goal than somebody else. But everybody wants to get stronger.
Right.
So it's not. I haven't found that to be rocket surgery yet, of like trying to figure out what everybody wants.
Right.
So my general box, like just general athletes, they typically work BC.
Okay.
So B is typically includes some sort of a skill movement, and then either a power or a strength. So sometimes an Olympic lift, sometimes just a back squat or a deadlift. There's all sorts of different things we can vary in there to kind of get a better response that we want. And then C is typically some sort of Metcon, usually less than 12 minutes.
Okay.
That'd be the bulk of our programming. I usually don't go too much further out of 12 minutes, maybe once a week, sometimes twice a week.
Okay.
Other than like fun events or just having silly fun with ridiculous workouts.
And why then do you stay? So they've done their skill in some power work, then this is their Metcon. Why? Typically you stay under the 12.
Yeah, there's two big reasons for that. One is we want people to train on a consistent basis. So typically when you're going past like 12 minutes, you're just doing a buttload of work. I mean, you're just doing a lot of volume at that point. So this is the first half of this is a volume control. Okay. We don't want people to do so much work that they're just beat up for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Or if they come back in, they're so sore they're barely even moving, or they just can't quite get the intensity that we want.
Right.
And the second part is the intensity piece.
Right.
So I think CrossFit is just a science lesson. Power goes force times distance divided by time.
Okay.
Okay, so whenever we're doing some sort of metabolic element, we want the most power possible.
Okay.
So if you can go a lot harder and get a lot more intensity, so intensity is power, it's interchangeable there. If I can get a higher intensity in 10 minutes than I can in 15 minutes, we're actually getting more done.
Less is more.
Yeah. More is just more. More is not better.
I got you. Okay. Yes, makes. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I wondered why, because I didn't understand that, and this is a good thing for me too.
Yeah. It says if we, whenever we're doing metabolic conditioning, intensity is what we want.
Right.
So intensity usually comes in a less of a domain than 12 minutes.
Plus, you got your power. You can hold the power with the intensity, with controlling your time.
Sure.
I got you. I got
controlling your time, controlling your volume. Plus, this means that you're going really, really hard on Monday, but you're not so beat up that you can't come in on Tuesday.
Right.
So when you look at a week, you usually have to look at a week, not just one workout. So if you look at a week, you can look at that week, and you're actually getting more done in a week because you're going harder more consistently throughout the week. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it.